Tone is in your head. Tone is in your fingers. Find your tone. We've all heard this as through our guitar journey, and never made sense. What does it mean by tone is in your head or tone is in your fingers? And the search continues for a lot of us guitar players, and to be honest, most of us never find our tone. So this got me thinking, what does it mean when all these guitar players talk about, all these great guitar players talk about tone is in your head, tone is in your fingers, find your unique tone, unique voice on the guitar. What does this mean? I gave it a very serious thought, and then it kind of struck me what it was. I came up with a whole bunch of steps, and actually not a whole bunch, just a few steps to nailing your tone, your unique voice, your signature tone, and finding it and honing it. So stick around, and I'm going to show you how to find your tone. What is tone? Now that's the important part. What is your tone? What is your signature tone? Well, quite simply, and this might really surprise all of you guys, quite simply, your signature tone is your voice, the voice that you hear in your head when you talk, when you think, the voice you use to express yourself, the voice you use to communicate. Your voice, that's your tone. Yes, but that's exactly what they're talking about. It's your voice that you hear when you speak in your head, when you think. That's your tone, and it is in your head, definitely. And that is what they mean by tone is in your head. Is tone in your fingers? Whenever these top guitar players in their interviews and or articles, they talk about tone is in your fingers. In these videos, they immediately take the left hand and say tone is in your fingers. Well, not quite. Tone is not in the fingers of your left hand, but tone is in your fingers, but not of your left, but your right hand. And I'll tell you why. With your left hand, you have your facility in playing the notes, your vibrato, your bends. All these things are stylistic uniquenesses. So they're unique, but they're stylistic. They are not tonal uniquenesses. So they are your signature style that you play, but they are not your signature tone. But your right hand is different. The size of your pick, the thickness of your pick, the material of the picks you use, the angle that you use to pick certain notes. So certain notes you pick them flat, certain notes you pick them angled, with an angled plectrum. And if you are a fingerstyle player, then the thickness of your nails, the length of your nails, or if you are finger picking or finger plucking, then how much of the nail and how much of your flesh of your finger is involved in plucking that note. All these things shape the tone or the EQ curve of that note. So is tone in your fingers? Yes, but not your left, your right. Your left is your stylistic uniqueness. It's your signature style that you would develop. The choice of notes you play, the facility on the fingerboard, the vibrato, the bends, the slides, all these things are stylistic uniquenesses, your stylistic signature, but not your tone. But you couple that with your right hand, which actually does affect the EQ curve of that note, depending on how hard you pick, how soft you pick, the dynamics, the angle of your pick, and all these things that we discussed. Together, they give you that unique tone. So when a great guitar player says, you know what, I've played Robin Ford's rig, his exact same rig, even played his guitar, but I don't sound the same as Robin Ford. Well, that's because Robin Ford's way of picking and plucking is different. So you may be using the same rig, you'll be sounding very close, but not exactly, because of the way his picking shapes the EQ curves of every single note that he plays. Why should you find your signature tone? I mean, why not just get the Van Halen tone or a Steve Vai tone and kill it? Yeah? Well, why not find your signature tone? When you speak and communicate, you don't speak in Van Halen's voice or Steve Vai's voice or anybody else's voice. You are speaking in your voice. When you think in your head, it's your voice that you're thinking in. You know? So, every single emotion of yours, your anger, your love, your sorrows, your happiness, everything that you express is in your voice, in your head first, and then through the words that you speak, through the language. So music is a language, of course, again. Then why not find that same voice on your instrument that will urge you to express yourself better, that will urge you to pick up that instrument and play longer, practice better, and learn music better, and help communicate your thoughts through music, the language of music, which, by the way, is not construed and limited by social norms and constructs. There are no political boundaries with music. Music does not have boundaries. So you have a language which has no boundaries. You can express yourself limitlessly. It's the true freedom of expression the language of music is. And then why not then use your voice to express through that language? So, how do you go about finding your tone? Your unique tone that you have? Well, let's find out.
So let's start. The first step in finding your tone is open up a DAW and record your voice. You need to hum the A note, basically the same pitch as your the fifth string of your guitar. So plug the fifth string of the guitar and get to know that note and then hum it. Now, preferably, you want to use a flat response microphone, wherein the microphone does not color or add its own EQ curve to your voice. So, I recommend using a flat response microphone if you have, or if your friend has one, or someone you know has a studio. You go there and you record your voice over there. If not, if you have if you don't have that option, and then use any other vocal mic or an instrument mic. For example, I'm using an SM57 here. Now, the Shure SM57 has its own EQ curve to it. So what you want to do is go on the net and get the frequency response of that microphone that which you are using, if it is not a flat response microphone. And you can Google it, or you can go on the website of the manufacturer and look for the frequency response chart. Once you find it, record your voice using that microphone, which I have done here. So here I have the pitch is the same as the fifth string of your guitar, A5. So record your voice. Now fret the 12th fret of the fifth string of your guitar, which is one octave higher, and memorize that pitch and record that one as well, like I have done here. So this is 5th string of the guitar, 12th fret. All right, and hum A again and record your voice. All right, once you've done that, then add a 31 band EQ in your inserts, like I have done here, and plot out that frequency response that you got from the net for your microphone that you have. So for SM57, this is an approximation of the frequency response of that microphone. And once you've plotted that out, then click invert. So basically whatever color that microphone has added, you are inverting it so that there's minimum coloration or minimum effect of the microphone over the EQ of your voice. Do the same thing on the next track as well, and plot out, click invert, and that's it. All right, so the ratio of mix that you need to do between the first lower pitch and 1 octave higher is about, you want the higher pitched vocal over here, which you recorded, to be about 15% off the first one. So this is 85%. This is, you mix only 15% of this into this one, and then together it sounds like this. That's your voice, right? All right, now that you've recorded it, now what you want to do is, then if you have an analog system, you have your amp, your drive pedals and all that, then try to match the harmonic content with, by adding distortion and overdrive with the harmonic content of your voice. So remember, there are two things over here. One is the you need to match two things. One is the harmonic content and the other is the EQ curve of your voice. So these are two different things, right? So the harmonic content you get, or the richness of the harmonics you get with your overdrive or distortion pedals, along with your amp, of course. And the EQ, well, you just EQ your voice and try to match it. So what I've done here now is I have added on the output, on the final stereo out, I've added a EQ. All right, so that I can check the EQ curve out. So hang on. All right, so that's the EQ curve of my vocal. So that's the EQ curve of my vocals over there. So you can see it's got some low end over there. I have anywhere between 100 to 117, almost 120 hertz. I have a little peak, and then again at around 200 hertz. So my voice naturally has a lot of low mids, okay, a little bit of lows and lots of low mids, and then I have a scoop happening at around starting from about 600 hertz, going down, really going low around 1 kilohertz, and then coming back up at around 2 kilohertz, and then so you see that, and then I have a massive trough at around 5 kilohertz, and then at 6 kilohertz it just starts coming up again, and then after that it's not relevant. So basically what you want to do is you want to match this EQ curve with your guitar, but how you do it is you don't want anything below 80 hertz. So anything below this you want to cut it out or keep it very low, because that's going to interfere with the bass and the kick drums and all that, and you don't want that happening. You want to have your own sonic real estate over there, not conflicting with any other instrument or in your mix or with your band when you play, right? And this is of a lot of interest to us. This little band over here, this is of a lot of interest to us. So starting from about 100 hertz and 500 hertz is very important. You can see we have a peak over there at almost 500 hertz, and this is very important to us. And here, these are your upper mids. Actually, your upper mids start from here, and highs start off here actually. So you can kind of compensate it a little bit over here with your guitar. So basically, you don't want anything in the low, and anything above 12 kilohertz you can cut it out. You're not going to hear it. It's not important. In fact, you can even cut it out lower than that, but well, for all intents and purposes for this video, you can cut out anything above 12 kilohertz. All right, so once you've done that, now what you got to do is match this EQ curve on your guitar. Add EQ out your amp, and I strongly recommend actually if you have an analog rig to get a 31 band EQ if you can, because then it becomes very easy to start mapping out this way. And also, if you don't have a 31 band EQ, then at least if you can get a 10 band EQ, a 10 band EQ pedal, or even a rack unit, then that would be great for all analog rigs that you have, analog users. And then if you are in the digital domain, like Helix, for example, then of course Helix offers a whole bunch of EQs, so you can add a lot of EQ blocks, and they are not very processor DSP intensive either, and you can kind of shape that tone a bit. Now, and for the harmonic richness, like I said, you need to work on your gain stages, whether it takes one distortion pedal and a clean amp and distortion pedal, or a couple of overdrive pedals with a slightly cranked up amp. I mean, you need to try that out. Try to match it to your voice closely enough, but there is a little bit of a difference you need to do. So this is how you hear your voice through the speakers, right? But this is not the EQ curve that you hear in your head, oddly enough. So what you got to do is you need to compensate. So how you compensate for that is you see the gap over there. You want to narrow that gap. Okay, you don't want such a wide gap, and you don't want such deep troughs over there either in the low mids, and you also don't want such massive drops over here and scoops over here in this frequency range either, anyway between the 1 to 2 kilohertz. So you want to boost that a little bit also. Lows, you hear a lot of lows in your head, but like I said, anything below 80, cut it out. It doesn't matter, because you're going to mud out the mix and start interfering into with the frequency range of other instruments like bass and kick drum and whatnot. And anything above 12 kilohertz, cut it out also. So once you've done that, you've mapped out you've chosen the correct harmonic richness. Now, one thing is, you can use plugins that use Fourier transform functions, wherein you can see the harmonic content of a clip and then match it. But you can use your ears as well. It does not have to be perfect. Use your ears and get it close enough. That'll do. So now let's listen to the guitar clip that I recorded after basically processing it. This is the clip that I've come up with, wherein you can see the troughs that we saw in the low mid range are much narrower. They're not as wide as in the audio clip. Mids are boosted up, you can see, and also the 1 to 2 kilohertz range, we don't have massive drops. And then after that, the 5 kilohertz onwards, it starts dropping off, and anything after 6 anyway, we don't need much of it, and after 12 it's no use anyway. We don't want that. So there you go. Now, one thing is, this clip was then recorded at around 50% volume of your guitar. The thing is, you the harmonic content and your EQ curve should match closest at 50% of your guitar volume, 50 to 60%. And if at your 100% guitar volume, if you're going to match this correctly, then what happens is, through the middle of the song, if you want to cut down, then you lose a lot of harmonic information, and you basically can thin out your tone. So you want to do this at 50% or 60% of a guitar volume, so that you have you still have quite a bit left if you want to really boost it up, both the EQ as well as the harmonic richness. All right, so that's it, guys. And now let's see how it sounds with the vocals, right? So this is the vocal, and let's see how this one sounds. Very close. There. See? So that's it. All right. So I've recorded a little piece of music. Let's hear how it sounds with full volume now, right?
And that's your tone. Well, or at least the structure of it anyway. So basically, now that you have the structure of your tone, the DNA of your tone, all you have to do now is tweak it and hone it. Now, it's not going to happen in 1 day or 2 days. If you are a seasoned guitar player or a seasoned musician, then of course you will find that structure and hone in the structure in a day, and then over a few weeks you will then tweak it and make it better and basically dress it. It's like you have a sculptor sculpts the stone, and then he has the sculpture in front of it, but he has to chip away the fine edges, and those fine edges, chipping them away takes a little bit of time. It takes a few weeks if you're seasoned, but if you're just starting off, then this is going to take much longer, because you have to develop your ears and your knowledge of the hardware that you use and how to get the best out of them, and this is going to take time. But it is better to start on the right foot, isn't it? So one other advantage of before I get to that, two pieces of gear that you must definitely pay a lot of attention to when you invest in, and you should have, is first is the pickup, because your pickup is the first source of the signal that's coming out of your guitar. That's your first source of your tone. Your everything that is shaped after that is after the signal reaches your gear, right? So your signal is your tone, the signal that comes out of a pickup. So you need to spend you need to pay special attention to the pickups that you buy and install. So when you buy whenever before buying a pickup, you if possible request for a DI signal of the pickup, and then run it through your rig, and basically then look at the EQ curve of that pickup and see if there are certain parameters, if there is more in common with your vocal EQ curve and not less. So if there is more common with your vocal EQ curve, then you know that's the right pickup for you, because then it's less work for you to do after with the gear that you have, because the signal that they are producing, it's already very close to your vocal EQ curve. Second thing is, if you're using an analog system, then if you're using analog gear, then better to invest in a 31 band equalizer. Where I can't stress this enough. If you can't, then at least try to invest in a 10 band EQ, because then that EQ is going to really shape that EQ curve that you have. And when you're choosing a distortion pedal or an overdrive pedal, and you know this endless search that we talk about, you no longer need to have that endless search, because now you know your tone, right? So then before you buy, you can then, so for example, let's say you have an overdrive pedal, you can then send your DI signal to the manufacturer of or the trader of the pedals, and ask them to send you a process signal back, and then you run it through the rig and see if that is the right pedal for you, with its harmonic richness matching the harmonic content of your voice, right? So there are many things like this that you can do, and you can save money, you save time, and you can kind of end this endless search for gear once you have the right gear, and you have your tone. This is the reason all the top guys don't change gear regularly. You'll find Eric Johnson or you'll find Yngwie Malmsteen, all these guys using very, very old gear that they've been using for decades, simply because they have it and they don't want to change it. Even if they have a new version of that, let's say an overdrive pedal, that will not be the same, and that's the reason that they are very careful when they change the gear. Another thing is, repeat this process every 5 years, simply because your voice changes over a period of time, and how you listen to your voice in your head, that also changes. So every 5 years, repeat that process and tweak and tune in. So you can see that you would probably have noticed that the tone of, let's say, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Malmsteen, all these shredders, Eric Johnson, Andy Timmons, their tone over decades has changed slightly, and the reason is because the way their voices changed, and the way they hear their voice in their heads changed. Hence, that translated into the tone that they had. So yeah, that's very important as well. So, and one last thing, of course, is you can use the same technique. Let's say if you are a musician, you've been hired by a band for one tour. You have maybe, let's say, 15, 20 shows or 10 shows, whatever, that you've been hired for. Well, in such a case, you want what works for the band best. You don't want the band leader or the vocalist coming to you saying, hey, you know what, man, your tone isn't working for the sound that we have for the band, and why don't you change it? Well, change it to what? Well, in that case, you just do the same thing. If either the vocalist, get the vocalist to record his voice to an open A, and then again to 12th fret note of the opening of the fifth string, and or if it's the band leader, then ask the band leader to record. So then you repeat that process and tune the EQ curve and the harmonic richness to these people, to whoever is the leader of the band, the vocalist, the band leader, whoever it is, and then you'll notice that everybody's accepting that tone and everybody's happy with that tone, and then you would become a very in-demand guitar player, because now you're catering to the people who hire you in the best possible way, and giving them the tone that they would really appreciate and like, and what would work for them. So that's it, guys. If you did find some value in this video, then do like, and please do comment, and do share. Spread the word if you feel that there is something worth in this video that you can take back, and do let me know if you've tried this technique and how it worked out for you guys. Right? Ciao.